democracy and peace in South Africa. The following military protocol must be observed. The arrival of the President will be announced. On the arrival of the President of the Republic of South Africa and the Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force, His Excellency Mr. Ramaphosa, all spectators are requested to stand until he has taken his position. During the scripture reading and prayer, all spectators are requested to remain seated. Male spectators are requested to remove and replace their headdress in time as instructed. After the scripture reading and prayer, the leaf laying and tree planting ceremonies will commence. The tree that will be planted is called the Ikebergia capensis and is a well-known symbol of life, a fresh start, positive energy, good health, a bright future, which has been deemed as the tree of the year. This is the legacy that the South African National Defence Force will leave for the Limpopo. On completion of the leaf laying and tree planting ceremonies, all spectators will be requested to stand for the withdrawal of the President of the Republic of South Africa and the Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force, His Excellency Mr. Ramaphosa. After the withdrawal of the main functionary, all spectators are requested to remain seated until the silent guard has marched off. All spectators are requested to switch off their cellular telephones and to refrain from smoking for the duration of the ceremonies. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for honoring our invitation. Your attendance is highly appreciated. We trust that you will enjoy this event with us. Thank you.
Give me the space.
See Thank you. Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated. Brigadier General M.A. Chamangile, Chaplain General of the South African National Defence Force, is requested to lead us in scripture reading and prayer.
Right! Off! Hit! 1, 2, 3, 1. The Secretary for Defense, to the people. To our key people, the descendants of SS Mendy, to our respectable military veterans, all expressions of faith are respected in this wreath-laying.
Education.
This wreath-laying service is an indicative that we don't forget to remember. We have been permitted by God to come here this morning to remember and celebrate sterling qualities and unselfish sacrifices made by the warriors of SS Mendy. These were warriors who unequivocally gave their all. As we reflect, we must call to mind that they help in shaping popular thinking and gave direction to all of us. We have come here because it is also an opportunity to give God honor and glory for their lives. As we remember them, let us equally use this opportunity to bring joy into our present circumstances. They instilled in us a legacy of self-help, self-worth, self-discipline, determination, and a sense of belonging. On the basis of these warriors, we can still lift our hearts, believing that our God is still faithful to carry us through. In conclusion, without ceasing, to the families and descendants, we will always thank God, mentioning them in our prayers. We will continue to remember their work produced by faith, their labor prompted by love, and their endurance inspired by hope. For as God's people, we have no right to forget what God remembers. Let us pray. And now I lift this wreath-laying ceremony, God Almighty, unto your throne of grace. Amen.
The President of the Republic of South Africa and the Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force, His Excellency Mr. Ramaphosa, is now requested to lay a wreath on behalf of the people of South Africa in memory of the members who lost their lives during the SS Mendi tragedy at sea. Ceremony will now commence. The tree that will now be planted by the Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force, Mr. Ramaphosa, on this occasion of the Armed Forces Day, 21 February 2020, is called the Ecologia Capensis and is commonly known as the Cape Ash.
Yes. I'm live. Thanks.
Lift the plastic. Okay.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Chief of the South African National Defence Force, General S. Shoge, OMBG, SBS, MMS, OMS, a hearty word of welcome to this Armed Forces Day Parade of 2020. The main functionary is the President of the Republic of South Africa and the Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force, His Excellency Mr. Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa. The following military protocol must be observed. The arrival of the President and his entourage will be announced, and we acknowledge the presence of members of the military command of the South African National Defence Force. On the arrival of the President of the Republic of South Africa, all spectators are requested to stand and remain standing until completion of the national salute, national anthem, 21-round gun salute and salute flight, which will be performed by 3 helicopters flying the national and the 2 South African National Defence Force flags. All military spectators are requested to salute during the national salute, and civilian male spectators are requested to remove their headdress. During scripture reading and prayer, all spectators are requested to remain seated. Male spectators are requested to remove and replace their headdress in time with the parade. After scripture reading and prayer, The President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Mr. Ramaphosa, will deliver his address. On completion of the President's address, the mass flypast and an air display will be performed by various aircraft from the South African Air Force approaching from north to south, in other words, from your front view. During the flag ceremony, all spectators are requested to remain seated when the 17-round gun salute is fired in honor of the handing and taking over of the South African National Defence Force flag. During the march past, all spectators are requested to stand when the various color groupings marches past their line of vision. All military spectators are to salute. After the march past, the mechanized columns from the services of the South African National Defence Force will commence. All spectators are requested to stand for the national salute on completion of the parade. Military spectators are requested to salute and civilian male spectators to remove their headdress. After the withdrawal of the podium group, all spectators are requested to remain seated until the parade, band, and flag company has marched off. The brigade commander is Brigadier General R.E. McCure, and the brigade warrant officer is Master Chief Warrant Officer M.V. Khaladi. The flag company consists of the 4 services of the South African National Defence Force, being the South African Army, South African Air Force, the South African Navy, and the South African Military Health Services. The Guard of Honor on parade are members from the National Ceremonial Guard. The Guard Commander is Major S.I. Kochane, and the Guard Warrant Officer is Master Warrant Officer S.R. Vuma. The band on parade is from the National Ceremonial Guard, under the direction of Captain N. Gomo, and the drum major is Private N.E. Raulenga. The 21 and 17-round gun salute will be executed by the South African Army Artillery Formation Headquarters, with the gun salute troop being under the command of Chief Warrant Officer J. Niemand. The parade consists of marching and mechanized columns from the 4 services of the South African National Defence Force. All spectators are requested to switch off their cellular telephones and to refrain from smoking for the duration of the parade. Invited guests are to proceed to the various venues of the respective functions which will be held on completion of the parade. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for honoring our invitation. Your attendance is highly appreciated. We trust that you will enjoy this event with us. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the President of the Republic of South Africa and the Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force, His Excellency, Mr. Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated. Brigadier General M.A. Jamangile, the Chaplain General of the South African National Defence Force, is requested to lead us in scripture reading and prayer.
All expressions of faith are respected on this parade. Our scripture lesson reads as follows. The greatest love a person can have for his friends is to give his life for them. As we commemorate the memories of the warriors of SS Mendi, who paid the supreme price in maritime disaster, the story of true sacrifice, courage, bravery, amidst the tremendous odds. Our God Almighty reminds us this morning that greater love has no one than this, that they laid down their lives for their country and her peoples. And therefore, as God's people, we have no right to forget what God remembers. The SS Mendi soldiers clearly understood that when you have a living faith in a living God, the past will be not dead history. It throbs with living realities. Today, this parade peals forth that we are not done. We will never be done. In God's presence, we are united in our determination as the South African National Defence Force to continue to build on the legacy of the warriors of SS Mendi. In conclusion, Commander-in-Chief, we are called on behalf of God to offer to the people of our country the power of God's love. God still calls to us, "Whom shall I send? Who will go for us?" And through our love for God and our country, we give only possible answer. Here we are. Send us. Send us. Send us. God bless you. Let us pray. We now lift this parade unto your throne of grace. Amen.
The President of the Republic of South Africa and the Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force, His Excellency Mr. Ramaphosa, is requested to address the parade.
Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, Ms. Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, Premier of Limpopo Province, Mr. Stanley Chupu Matabata, Ministers of Defense from fraternal countries in our SADC region, and as far afield as from Cuba. We are delighted that the Minister of Defense from Cuba has been able to travel this long distance to join us. Ministers and deputy ministers of our government, MECs, Mayor of Polokwane and councillors, Secretary of Defense, Dr. Sam Gulube, Chief of the South African National Defence Force, General Soli Shoke, members of the Military Command Council, generals, admirals, officers and officials, non-commissioned officers, members of the diplomatic corps, soldiers on parade, military veterans, religious leaders who are amongst us, distinguished guests, and fellow South Africans. As Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force, it is my honor and my privilege to be here today particularly to honor our men and women in uniform. Armed Forces Day is commemorated annually to pay tribute to the soldiers of our nation who perished in the English Channel in 1917 on board the SS Mendi during the First World War. We do this so that the sacrifice that they paid should never, ever be forgotten. We honor the men and women who protect our borders and those who have gone before, who made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our nation. We are a proud people, and we are proud of the progress we have made in ensuring that from the desperate apartheid-era armed forces, a single, united, uniquely South African National Defence Force has been born and has emerged. The SANDF is an enduring symbol of our rainbow nation and includes in its ranks black and white men and women. Through loyalty and discipline in defending our territorial integrity and sovereignty, through your involvement in conflict resolution and peacemaking efforts on our continent, and through your heroic roles during natural disasters, both here at home and in our neighboring countries, the SANDF indeed makes us proud to be South African. You are a symbol of our pride and our national unity. Only 10 days ago, we commemorated the 30th anniversary of the release of the SANDF's first Commander-in-Chief, President Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. We should not forget that historic day, which dramatically changed our country's political trajectory and led to the peaceful transition to democracy, and which brought the SANDF into existence. We mark Armed Forces Day this year at a time when South Africa has assumed the chairship of the African Union for 2020. This is a great responsibility to lead our continent towards peace, unity, and prosperity, envisaged many years ago by our forebears like Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, Patrice Lumumba, Albert Luthuli, Oliver Tambo, Thomas Sankara, and Kenneth Kaunda. In May this year, South Africa will host the extraordinary summit of the African Union to address the issue of silencing the guns, one of the AU's pillars as an agenda. This summit will provide an opportunity to assess the implementation of the AU Master Plan and at the same time respond to emerging developments on the African peace and security landscape. As a continent, we have set milestones towards the attainment of a better and safer continent for all Africans, but our progress remains mixed. Conflict continues in several African countries, undermining our collective efforts to achieve peace and security. South Africa looks to the SANDF to assist us to meet our obligations with regards to supporting continental peace and security. A lot, therefore, lies on the shoulders of the SANDF, the men and women who make us proud as South Africans. On this 2020 Armed Forces Day, we remember all the heroes and heroines in the SANDF who put their lives on the line to serve their country and their continent. In our quest to silence the guns on our continent, we acknowledge the enduring challenges of armed conflict in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger in North Africa, in the Sahel, in the Horn of Africa, and in the Great Lakes region. We are delighted that South Sudan is now advancing to a situation of greater peace, as tomorrow they will inaugurate a united transitional government. And we hope and trust that through that, the guns in that country will have been silenced. Our Deputy President will be in attendance as the transitional government is inaugurated. We count on the South African National Defence Force as an organ mandated by the AU and the UN respectively to discharge the important responsibility of promoting peace. I commend our soldiers for staying true to this course and despite the many challenges they face. On this Armed Forces Day, we show appreciation for the service rendered by our soldiers, who despite limited numbers, ensure that the 4,800 kilometers of our vast border is patrolled. The companies deployed along the South Africa border with Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Mozambique continue to make great strides in curtailing illegal actions in their area of responsibility. These men and women do remarkable work in safeguarding our borders and in assisting the South African Police Service with crime prevention. We commend them, knowing that the vast stretch of our border requires far more resources on the ground. As a nation, we owe a great debt of appreciation to our National Defence Force for being not just a fighting force, but a developmental force. They don't just bear guns, they also bear shovels and do the real work. Across our country, we've seen the SANDF render essential services through the deployment of health professionals at public health facilities that are in crisis. We've seen our men and women in uniform repair sewage infrastructure along the Vaal River and in the Northwest. Our forces have built bridges in rural areas, carrying picks and shovels to give isolated communities access to places and services they would not be able to reach otherwise. And our forces are active in firefighting, as well as mountain and maritime search and rescue operations. In undertaking these diverse programs, the SANDF draws on the talents and the energies of young South Africans. The military skills development system is an important front in our nation's battle against youth unemployment. I'm therefore pleased that the program for the 2020 Armed Forces Day included a military careers showcase. I hope that young people who wish to develop themselves and grow South Africa will indeed embrace these opportunities, through which they will make an important contribution to the security and the sustainability of our nation. We recognize that we have come a long way in the past 25 years. We have to continue growing our defense industry, especially as it makes a significant contribution in our country's economy, to strengthen the relationship between the defense industry and the armed forces. We have launched the National Defense Industry Council. This development aims to support the defense industry with export opportunities while also meeting the SANDF's material needs. We've also launched the Defense Industry Fund with the objective of growing the local defense industry and servicing the SANDF and external clients. We are starting to see the fruits of this intervention in our military. Our Armaments Cooperation, AMSCO, is also integrally involved in these processes and continues to provide major acquisition and project management capabilities. South Africans should be proud that their military is providing opportunities to small and medium enterprises and contributing to stimulating local economies where bases are situated. This we have done through Project Kobatlala. To this effect, the SANDF has entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Small Business Development to raise the department's spend on small and medium enterprises from 30% to 50% and create a wonderful lifeline for startups and budding entrepreneurs. I challenge you to ensure that women-owned businesses access a significant chunk of this procurement in line with the call by the African Union for the allocation of at least 25% of public procurement to women-owned businesses instead of the current 1%. Compatriots, I want to commend the Minister, Mapisa Ngakula, for establishing the Ministerial Task Team against sexual exploitation and abuse in the military. The task team is currently hard at work to rid our military of incidents of sexual exploitation and abuse which go against the grain of our military ethos and character and which violate the very principles on which our democracy is founded. These are steps in the right direction to address the disgraceful behavior of a few men and which will give weight to our efforts to end violence against women on our continent. During our tenure as African Union Chair, we will make the adoption of the AU Convention on Violence Against Women a priority and urge Member States to ratify the international protocols that outlaw gender discrimination. The global climate crisis threatens our continent more than most, contributing to resource scarcity and instability. It has the potential to aggravate security issues. As chair of the Committee of African Heads of State and Government on Climate Change, I will ensure that South Africa prioritizes mitigation, adaptation, and support as we address climate change. As Commander-in-Chief, I will keenly follow the initiative that the Defense Minister took with a campaign to plant trees, not bombs, in Durban in November 2019. I was particularly pleased this morning that we were able, in our wreath-laying ceremony, to plant a tree, signifying that, yes, we will want to plant trees and not bombs. The Under-Secretary General Fabrizio Drummond of the UN was also part of this initiative and urged UN members to plant 75 million trees as part of mitigating climate change. I urge the SANDF to expand this initiative in partnership with other government entities. I conclude. As I do so, I wish to pay tribute to one of our own, the late Chief of the South African Army, Lieutenant Thabiso Mokgosi, who we laid to rest in December 2019. He would have been with us today. He has left us a rich legacy of his total commitment to serve the people of South Africa, a deep sense of patriotism and humility. In his memory, let us continue serving this country with the highest form of loyalty and redouble our efforts to ensure that South Africans feel safe and remain safe. This, the men and women of the South African National Defence Force, is your calling, and we would like you to live up to that calling. And we send you, therefore, to ensure that the people of South Africa feel secure, knowing that you are around to protect them and to be the patriots that they look forward to from your activities. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the mass fly past and an air display will now commence. Please be reminded that they will be approaching from your front view.
Ladies and gentlemen, the aircraft that you will see in the mass flypast today come from all the squadrons and bases in the South African Air Force. The Chief of the South African Air Force, Lieutenant General F.Z. Nsimang, PSCJ, ENSP, leads an air force that is positioned to inspire confidence amongst the nation it serves. The helicopters participating in the flypast display a combination of the modern sophistication of helicopter operations in the South African Air Force helicopter line. The lead aircraft in the helicopter formation is an Augusta A109 light utility helicopter. This formation of various South African Air Force helicopters is led by Major Jono Sterling from 87 Helicopter Flying School from Air Force Base Bloemspruit. The Augusta A109 and the Super Lynx helicopters were acquired by the South African Air Force as part of the strategic defense packages and are a valuable part of the Air Force helicopter fraternity. The Rooivalk was designed and built in South Africa in coordination with Denel. It is an attack helicopter used in the ground suppression, anti-armor, reconnaissance, close air support, and counter-insurgency roles. The Rooivalk attack helicopter has been employed very effectively against the M23 rebel forces in the Democratic Republic of Congo in support of the MONUSCO Force Intervention Brigade. The Rooivalk is operated by a 16 Squadron, also based at Air Force Base Bloemspruit in Bloemfontein. The Oryx is the South African Air Force's medium utility helicopter and is utilized for reconnaissance, airborne command and control, search and rescue, amongst other operations. The Augusta A109 is used for command and control tasks and light communication flights. Ladies and gentlemen, helicopter formation.
Ladies and gentlemen, following from your front view is the pointer formation, consisting of a King Air aircraft and a Cessna 208 aircraft from 41 Squadron and a Casa 212 from 44 Squadron. Both squadrons are based at Air Force Base Waterkloof. Ladies and gentlemen, pointer formation.
Our next formation is Jumbo Formation. This formation consists of a C-130BZ medium transport aircraft operated by 28 Squadron based at Air Force Base Waterkloof. Together with the C-130 are the Silver Falcon Formation aerobatic team flying the Pilatus PC-7 Mark II Astra aircraft. The Silver Falcons are the South African Air Force's official aerobatic display team based at Central Flying School at Air Force Base Langebaan. Jumbo Formation.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Hawk Formation is led by Major Pumelelo Nzuta, the training coordinator at 85 Combat Flying School based at Air Force Base Makado. Included in the Hawk aircrew members in today's flypast is Major Mandi Samfeka, the first African female fighter pilot in the South African Air Force. The Hawk is a transonic leading fighter trainer, encompassing ideal handling characteristics for fighter pilot training. The aircraft is used to train aspirant fighter pilots in all aspects. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hawk Formation.
Our Gripen formation comprises the Gripen aircraft from 2 Squadron, also located at Air Force Base Makado. The Gripen is a multi-role 4th generation fighter aircraft. This aircraft is primarily used to protect the sovereignty of the South African airspace through air defense missions such as intercepts, combat air patrols, close air support, and pre-planned strikes. The formation is led by Lieutenant Colonel Josias Mashaba. Ladies and gentlemen, Gripen.
The agility and performance of the Gripen fighter aircraft will now be displayed by Major Jeffrey Cooper, call sign Spartan. Jeffrey Cooper was born in 1986 at Ennerdale, and he spent all of his adolescence in Johannesburg South. He matriculated at Silver Oak Secondary in Eldorado Park and joined the South African Air Force in 2005, qualifying as a pilot in 2008. He began his fighter training on Hawks at 85 Combat Flying School, Air Force Base Makado, where he qualified as a flight leader in 2012. He started his Gripen operational conversion at 2 Squadron in 2013 and has been enjoying the calling in this here beautiful machine ever since. He further completed instructor's course at 85 Combat Flying School in 2018 and is currently on pilot attack instructor's course, serving at 85's warfare officer. He enjoys life through open eyes with his wife and pigeon pair minions through activities like hiking, tearing up kilometers on a Harley, and being a fighter pilot.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Gripen JAS-39 is an advanced light fighter aircraft. It is powered with a Volvo Aero RM12 turbofan. This aircraft can reach speeds of up to 1,400 kilometers per hour, or in fighter pilot term, Mach 1.8. It can operate up to heights of 17 kilometers, 52,000 feet. The maximum range of this aircraft with external fuel tanks is over 3,000 kilometers. Fuel type is Jet A1. In normal cruise consumption, this aircraft utilizes 50 liters of fuel per minute. Under each wing are 8 attachment points that can be used for a variety of weapons for all weather, day and night operations. Major Jeffrey Cooper will commence with his air display shortly. He will positioning for a run-in and perform various maneuvers, including outside rolls, oblique smear turns, straight rolls, even slow rolls. Observe the difference between the high-speed fly past and the slow performance as the aircraft comes past for a slow fly past. Inverted fly pasts will also be conducted together with in fighter turns. Half cubinates and various loops. Ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy Spartan with his air display. As Spartan breaks off into the vertical, we stand by for the final fly past from the Hawk formation. This transonic lead-in fighter is ideally configured to give correct handling training to young fighter pilots in the South African Air Force, with speeds ranging up to 1,100 kilometers per hour and a range of 1,700 kilometers. The Hawk aircraft is used primarily for the training of our fighter pilots of the future. The South African Air Force mass fly past proudly salutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the mass fly past and an air display. The handing over of the South African National Defence Force flag will now commence. Please take note that during the flag ceremony, there will be a 17-round gun salute. All spectators are requested to remain seated. Only the parade will acknowledge the salute. Upon the commemoration of the establishment of the South African National Defence Force, the South African National Defence Force flag is handed from the Chief of South African Army to the Chief of South African Air Force on this 21st day of February 2020. Whereas the Chief of the South African Air Force will receive the flag for safekeeping for a period of 1 year on behalf of the South African National Defence Force as a symbol of the unity, determination, and strength. The title, Keeper of the Flag, is bestowed upon you. In this capacity, you are hereby charged to ensure that the South African National Defence Force flag is unfurled and displayed in the appropriate manner at the South African Air Force headquarters. The flag is to be treated with respect at all times. During the next commemoration of the Armed Forces Day, the South African Air Force should present the flag in appropriate manner to the South African Navy. The handing over of the scroll, which is the instruction to the display and safekeeping of the flag, will now commence. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the handing over of the South African National Defence Force flag and scroll. Ladies and gentlemen, the marching in mechanized columns from the 4 services of the South African National Defence Force will now commence. Ladies and gentlemen, approaching from east, in other words, from your right, are the marching columns from the 4 services of the South African National Defence Force, namely the South African Army, the South African Air Force, the South African Navy, and the South African Military Health Services, in that order. All members in uniform are required to salute when the various color grouping marches past your line of vision. Ladies and gentlemen, the South African Army. Ladies and gentlemen, the South African Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, the South African Navy. Ladies and gentlemen, the South African Military Health Services. Ladies and gentlemen, approaching from the east, in other words, from your right, are the mechanized columns displaying the different capabilities of the South African National Defence Force.
Ladies and gentlemen, approaching from your right are the military police division motorbikes that are used for functional. They are under the command of Rear Admiral Junior Grade M.A. Mapoto, PSCJ, ENSP. He preaches unity in the military police division. These functional motorbikes are used mostly by military police area offices to escort military convoys, crime prevention, conduct VIP escorts, and also they are used mostly during the official funerals of state managers or state presidents or the former presidents. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your functional motorbikes. Behind them are operational motorbikes. These motorbikes are used during operations and exercise to patrol the main supply routes, escort VIPs, traffic control, crime prevention, and escort of military convoys. They are mostly used to patrol the borders of our country. When you see them, you must know that you are in trouble. The poachers and undocumented persons will be in trouble when these guys come to you. Ladies and gentlemen, operational motorbikes. The functional police van, these are used in the military police client service centers to transport inmates and personnel that are arrested. They usually use for mobile patrols in the urban areas. Ladies and gentlemen, the functional police vehicles. Behind them, the functional police vans. They are used to transport inmates and also to arrest those who are naughty. Ladies and gentlemen, functional police vans. The Land Cruiser SUV, they are used at the borderlines and they are used as command vehicles by the commanders in the borders. Land Cruiser SUV. The Land Cruiser pickup, they are also used in the borderlines to escort the members who are undocumented and the rhino poachers that are arrested. Ladies and gentlemen, the Land Cruiser pickup. The Land Rover. The Land Rover is also used as a soft-skin vehicle at the main supply route by the commander of the military police in the borders or during wartime. The Land Rover military police. The Mamba vehicle. These are the vehicles that are used as a hard skin during the main supply routes, exercises, and operations. They also sometimes carry the 12.7 light machine gun. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mamba. And that was your military police.
Ladies and gentlemen, what follows is now the boys and the girls that make sure that the metal meets the mood when it is required. I present to you now the Rattle command vehicle, which is leading these vehicles at the moment. From the east to your right, and they are now leading the artillery regiment. The Rattle infantry fighting vehicle is used for many functions within the DoD today. What you have now is for your forward patrol or forward command post vehicles as used by the observers in the artillery regiment. And directly behind them you will have your 120 mortar system, which forms part of a battery within the South African Artillery Regiment. These are placed now on the Gecko vehicle. The MS-120 mortar is used for fire support to your forces when conducting operations. Ladies and gentlemen, that was your MS-120 mortar. Right behind them, you will find the Battalier. This is a multiple rocket launcher system, which also provides indirect fire support for your command elements when required. Ladies and gentlemen, this regiment is based in Potchefstroom, and this is your 4th Artillery Regiment. Directly behind your multiple rocket launcher system, you now have the G5 105mm gun system. This is fitted with a 45 cal 105mm weapon system. It is a towed system. It is also part of the artillery regiment, where one battery will consist of the G5s. What is now directly in front of you is your G6 self-propelled system, transported by a Shongololo tank transporter. The gun system of the G6 is the same as the G5 system. However, it provides a very mobile capability to can do force projection and deliver firepower where required. And ladies and gentlemen, that was your artillery regiment from Potchefstroom. And ladies and gentlemen, the vehicle directly in front of you is the Rattle 20mm, and also the Rattle 60mm breech loading system is used in the combat role, as I've already informed that many of the units, their commanders will have the Rattle vehicle. Now, approaching the first podium, it is the 35mm gun system from Kimberley. At the big hole, this 35mm gun system provides air defense to our forces, and the 35mm system has a capability of engaging and destroying enemy targets at the range of 4 kilometers. Ladies and gentlemen, you will also be impressed by the fact that the air defense artillery made sure that they bring their 35mm guns in numbers to also show you their capabilities. Now, this weapon system can also be applied in the ground role. This weapon system provides high rate of fire in order to can give you fire suppression and destruction of enemy targets. Ladies and gentlemen, use the time to take as many pictures and make as many videos and be proud of your armed forces today. This is one of those rare moments that you have to be very close to your armed force, and it is the intent that you socialize and spend time with your armed forces today. You can see as the people traverse, elevate, and declinate the gun system so that they show you what the system is able to do so that it can be able to provide air defense and destruction of enemy targets or enemy aircrafts. Ladies and gentlemen, Limpopo today is visited by the guests from Kimberley to come and show them their capabilities. take notes, take pictures, and enjoy the show by our men and women from Kimberley. And ladies and gentlemen, that was your 35 millimeters. Ladies and gentlemen, as a commander here given a responsibility, I've also realized a technical error, but we shall deal with it as we move on. What you have in front of you is now your Oerlikon 35mm gun system, which has a twin-barreled cannon and has a capability to destroy targets at ranges of 4 kilometers. The previous system has a nickname called Bosphoric for those of you that relate with that name. But this one is a 35mm twin-barreled cannon system. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important all the time that we can be able to protect, safeguard the integrity of South Africa, and this is one of the systems that we use to make sure that our airspace and skies are safe. So our ladies and gentlemen from Kimberley have been tasked with that responsibility of making sure that we have that safe environment and we can provide the safety that the Commander-in-Chief has addressed. And so, ladies and gentlemen, directly in front of you now, it is the last of the Oerlikon 35mm twin-barreled anti-air guns. Directly behind them, ladies and gentlemen, you now have your Starstreak missile system, which is on a Gecko platform, and this provides enemy aircraft engagements up to ranges of 6 kilometers. And this will provide a guided missile to be able to destroy and distract enemy targets. And the air defense artillery also relies on radar capability provided by your Tutla radar system, which is made in South Africa, and it provides a 2D systems capability. It is used as a surveillance radar, and it can also provide early warning. The system can detect at the ranges of 120 kilometers, and it will identify at 80 kilometers. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the systems from the air defense artillery all the way from Kimberley. Directly in front of the main podium, you will see again the Rattle 12.7. As I said, this vehicle is used for various roles, especially in command role in the South African National Defence Force. You would see that in many mechanized movements and execution of exercises and missions, you will find this vehicle. And this vehicle is also used as a section variant, where it can be able to provide you with fire suppression when required. You also have a Rattle 20, which is South African made 6x6 armored vehicle, which is the main variant of the Rattle, and it features a 2-man turret system. It can be used to suppress enemy, and it can provide high power, and it carries 10 members in the turret. Directly behind them, you'll also have the Rattle 60 which is an infantry fighting vehicle of South African origin, and it can be used for indirect and for battlefield support. It has a weapon system which is a 60mm breech loading mortar, and it is used in infantry units. Directly behind them you'll find the Rattle 60, which does not have a turret, but it has an opening where a 60mm or an 81mm mortar is fitted, which can be able to provide indirect fire support to our forces. In front of your podiums, you will also have the Rattle 90. The Rattle 90 is also a South African infantry fighting vehicle manufactured here in South Africa by South Africans, and it is built on a modified man-truck chassis, and it serves as a fire support vehicle, and it is used to knock down and destroy strong points. And this particular vehicle is fitted with a 90mm low pressure gun. Directly behind the Rattles, you will now have the Rooikat 76mm armored vehicle, which was developed in the 1980s during extensive operations in Southwest Africa. And this vehicle can be used for various tasks, which would include raids, attacks of all enemy lines, escorting of own forces, and for flank reconnaissance. Due to high mobility and firepower and adequate protection, this makes this vehicle ideal to identify and exploit possible enemy weaknesses. The Rooikat is fitted with a 76mm GT4 quick-firing semi-automatic gun. In front of the podium, you will now have your ZT3 system. This is an anti-tank missile system manufactured in South Africa, and it is also used on tank hunt and killer missions. It has a range of 5 kilometers. Directly in front of the podium, you will now have the Shongololo tank transporter. On it, you will have the Oliphant Mark II tank, which is fitted with a 105mm gun. This is the main battle tank of the South African Army, and it is used for high-intensity operations. The Shongololo tank transporter, it is used for non-tactical movement of combat vehicles such as your tanks, and as you may have seen with the G6 when they have to be transported on our urban roads. In front of the podiums now, you will have the Oliphant Mark 1A main battle tank. This is the Army's premier direct weapon platform, developed from the British Centurion tank. The Oliphant Mark 1A boasts a weapon stabilized laser range finding capability and a passive night fighting capability. So this tank can be able to conduct both day and night operations. This tank as well is transported on the Shongololo tank transporter. And the tank transporter is fitted with a MAN 4440 engine. What you now have in front of your first podium is the Cavallo tank transporter. This vehicle is designed, and its main function is to transport tanks and equipment in operational areas. It has good mobility and grip and handling, and it is designed in the theaters of operation to go and provide movement of vehicles and equipment. It is a recovery vehicle. What we now have in front of us is our Husky system. sometimes called the Chubby system. It is manufactured in South Africa by a company called DCD Mobility, and this vehicle will do your bomb detection so that we can be able to maneuver freely in operational areas. Directly behind them, you will find an Iveco truck, which is also operated by your bomb disposal teams. In front of you now, you will have a Bell B25E articulated dump truck, which is used to also move gravel and load other material in the battlefield. These are the vehicles that will be used by your engineers when they do various operations, and as His Excellency has mentioned, they have been deployed in support of our communities to do sewer repairs, building of breaches when there's disasters. What you also find in front of you now is another transporter for the logistics purposes, and in this case you will see that it is carrying your articulated diesel truck, which is military off-the-shelf type of vehicle. What you now see in front of you is the Caterpillar 140M all-wheeled road grader. Many have seen this vehicle. It comes in many variants, and it is also used by the engineers in support of our people. What you now see in front of the podium on the low bed as well is your CAT 950 end or front end loader, which is also used by the engineers. It is able to move equipment, gravel, crushed rock, and gravel for various functions. We have again our extensively used rattle vehicle in its differing variants from your 12.7, your 20 millimeter, your 60 mil. Now in this case, when these vehicles are deployed with the tactical intelligence from Potchefstroom, where they provide battlefield surveillance, this movement is led by Major Hervier from B Squadron in the Tactical Intelligence Regiment, and this unit is responsible to provide battlefield surveillance, and the units are equipped with various specialized equipment which enables them to do their job. And these units, they are using the rattle vehicles so that they can have mobility as with the rest of the counterparts, and they provide commanders with real-time intelligence by always monitoring the activities on the battlefield. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Army.
Ladies and gentlemen, following the South African Army's vehicles is the South African Air Force's tactical mobile radars. These radars are based at Air Force Base Swart Corps 142 Squadron under Air Force Mobile Deployment Wing, Pretoria. The tactical mobile radar represents the tactical aspects of air defense for the South African Air Force. This radar acts as a force multiplier to improve low-level radar coverage up to the radius of 200 kilometers. Ladies and gentlemen, tactical mobile radar. Following the tactical mobile radar is the hazardous material fire tender, which is an aviation fire truck suitable for the airport or aviation firefighting and rescue with mass application of foam water, and extrication-powered equipment. Commitment of 4 or more aviation firefighters is needed for proper or best outcomes, with proper personal protective equipment at all times. Ladies and gentlemen, hazardous material fire tender.
Ladies and gentlemen, following the Air Force is the South African Navy Maritime Reaction Squadron boats. The first boat that you see, the green and black one, is known as the RPB, the Riverine Patrol Boat. It is also classified as a high-speed light craft. They are also known as the crocodiles. Their roles are to patrol or conduct riverine operations. They are also used to patrol the lakes and other inlet waterways. Directly after the crocodiles is the harbor patrol boats. The harbor patrol boats are known as the Namakuras. The boats are also used to conduct safe operations within the harbor. And directly after the harbor patrol boats, you get the boarding boats. The boarding boats are used to conduct boarding operations. As you can see on the back, there are 6 men, a team that will conduct those boarding operations. All the boats are actually armed with a primary weapon, a Browning heavy machine gun with a 12.7 caliber weapon, and a secondary weapon, the SS-77, that is 7.62. And the last boat that you see is a 6.1 RUP that is used by the divers.
South African Military Health Services mechanized columns under command of Major Sekwili. FESI command vehicle used as a mobile command post in theatre operations in support of the Army with a crew of 4 members. Followed by the Gecko 8-wheel drive all-terrain vehicle that was developed by LMT Productions of South Africa. It's used by parachute and special forces units and can be applied as a troop weapon, cargo and medical orderlies. Land Cruiser ambulance was developed as an ambulance in the SAMS and designed for border patrols and functions. 4x4 capability. Mercedes ambulances for road transport, medical standby with a crew of 2 in 1 lying patient capability. SAML 20 ambulance is a standard transport vehicle with various applications such as an ambulance, classified as a soft skin vehicle, non-mine resistant, manufactured by trike makers in Roslyn, weight of 2 ton, 2 medical orderlies and 6 patients. FESI ambulance is an armored ambulance used by the South African Military Health Services. FESI is Zulu for the word of snake, the emblem of the SAMS. The vehicle weighs 17 tons and is capable to withstand 321 kilogram landmines. Followed by the Aero truck system, there's a roll up and roll off system for transport of containers and cargo. Then FESI ambulance. The walls of this ambulance can withstand small arm fires up to 7.62. 2 medical orderlies, 4 lying patients, 4 seated patients. The Iveco flatbed systems carrying Casper ambulance is a mine ambush protected ambulance variant used in external United Nations operations. Followed again by the Iveco flatbed conversion, FESI and FESI command. Coming into from the right is a Iveco truck with a ABBA trailer conversion, giving the capability to lift containers from the ground onto the back to transport to any area where it is needed, cargo and equipment in such containers. The last vehicle in the medical contingent, again, the pride and joy of the South African Military Health Services, the FESI command.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the marching and mechanized columns from the 4 services of the South African National Defence Force. Ladies and gentlemen, approaching is the National Ceremonial Guard for the final compliment. Ladies and gentlemen, you are requested to stand for the playing of the national anthem. Military members are requested to salute. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated until the podium group has withdrawn. You are further requested to remain seated until the Guard of Honor, Band, and Flag Company has marched off. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the parade. Invited guests are reminded to go to various functions on completion of the parade, which they will be ushered to. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance and enjoy the rest of your day.